Welcome back, Rogue Bob Gaming fans. Eric and Matt here. Today we have, I guess, a new installment of a series that will probably continue as the years progress. But we're going to be doing a review, our thoughts, our hot takes of the new Crown Zenith Sword and Shield, the last set of Sword and Shield before we finally get to move on to Scarlet and Violet. I feel like Sword and Shield, I'm just exhausted.
It's been a long time since we got back into it. Base set released.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first started, maybe even before COVID. I remember like the sets that were out were the Mewtwo tag team. What was that? Unified Minds. That was kind of like when we started.
Oh yeah, Unified Minds was out.
But it wasn't that many sets later when base set Sword and Shield came out. So we're finally here. We hope that y'all are excited to turn the page into Scarlet and Violet. But before we did, Matt and I had some thoughts and some feels about the new set, the Crown Zenith, which came out on January 20th, so 9 days ago as the time we were recording this video. So hopefully you've had a chance to get some packs or at least check out the set list online to kind of gather your own feedback. But Matt, let's go ahead and start with you. What screams out to you with this set that might be different from other Sword and Shield sets? Like, what is it that this set is your thought, like just your first inkling?
Yeah, well, I'm going to throw out there just from the get-go that I don't love reprint sets. This is heavily a reprint set. I don't know if you know, or if you know the audience knows that much.
Yeah.
But as much as there are new cards, you can get new cards. A lot of the cards have been in previous sets.
Yep.
So a lot of the cards are coming from previous sets. Maybe they have new art. Maybe they have a different rarity.
Yeah.
You'll see that in a lot of card games. I mean, all of them do it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Does it. Magic Gathering does it. They'll have reprint sets. The thing I love about that, as much as I'm not one to like clamor for a reprint set, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I need to get that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really collecting. I want to build a viable deck.
Yeah.
So the only thing that screams to me is, oh, okay, these prices are going to drop in some way, shape, or form. So if you wanted, let's say I just pulled this, I opened Elite Trainer box of Crown Zenith. I just pulled this Mewtwo V-Star.
It's sick.
That'll probably, which is awesome looking.
Yeah.
That'll affect the price of other Mewtwo V-Stars.
Yeah.
They'll probably go down.
Yep.
So if you were really, not that Mewtwo V-Star is like the best card in the world, but if you wanted to build that deck, you can go, oh, okay, I can now build this at like a lower rarity for less.
Yeah.
Which is what I enjoy about it.
Yeah.
But like I know you come from a different angle, so what like screams to you?
I think one of the good things about our channel is Matt and I have kind of opposing or like opposite thoughts of like when these sets come out. Not in like a bad way. We don't get in arguments. We just get in fistfights.
No.
We don't argue. That's a waste of time.
Yeah. I just get punched in the face.
Matt and I aren't even friends. Like the thought of looking at him on the screen right now makes me want to vomit. Kidding. But like Matt really likes the actual game. The TCG, the card game, whether it's online, on live. I like to have a pretty binder is what I feel like the running joke for collectors are. Like anytime I look at a set, when I see a new set, my head goes to like what ones are really cool that I would love to like add to my Psychic collection or just in general to kind of put in my binder. It's like the high I get when I open a pack is like, okay, what did I pull? You know, I need to make improvements on like my lightning section of my binder. I don't have a lot in there. So when I pull like a Sig lightning card, I'm like, oh, nice. You know, so that's kind of how I think about it. And I think I don't think I like the game as much, to be totally honest. And this is not me throwing shade at Matt, but Matt's really good and I can't win a lot. So when you don't win a lot, it's hard. I don't think I'm bad at the game, but Matt's just really good. And so whenever Matt and I would play a lot, I think I would have a badass deck, and then we'd play, and I would get scraped like 3 or 4 out of 5 games, and then I would lose my like game kind of momentum. But that's kind of where we think. I love collecting, having a binder, and Matt actually likes the game mechanics and the game itself.
Yeah, it's just like two different mindsets. I think you again, like you said, you like to have a pretty binder. You're like, oh, this is a really cool looking card. As much as I like that, and I'll probably get some cards graded that I have like that. For sure. When I open a pack, I look at it as like, what can I use? Yeah. And if I feel like I can't use anything, because I'm just a super competitive person. You are. So if I'm like, oh, I can't use any of these. Yeah. I'm like, well, then I don't care. Yeah. I also do the same thing with like prices. Like again, you're like, oh, this card's pretty. I really like how it looks. It's a cool rarity. I'm kind of like, how much is this card worth? And if it's not worth like over $10, I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, yeah. Like I remember Matt showed me that Mewtwo
the art with Mewtwo and Charizard. I don't even remember the name of the exact card, but
it's a Mewtwo V-Star.
Yeah, the Mewtwo V-Star. Like, he showed me that, and I immediately was like, I would either trade or buy that off him. I didn't even know how much it was worth at the time, and then he was like, it's worth $90. I said, never mind, you should sell that to somebody else. I thought it would be worth like 20 or 30, and I would Venmo him right now for that, or do a trade when I see him again. But like, I think about it kind of like that, and more of like my binder will be an investment over time, because right now Pokemon cards are still hot. COVID definitely started it, and I don't think it's really slowed down all that much. But eventually it will probably slow back down. It ebb and flows, and then so hopefully in a few decades it'll have another rise to fame, and my binder will be worth billions. That's
so like, what do you find this set to be a viable set for like from a collecting perspective?
I do. Not so much from the reprint perspective, but as I'm scrolling through my screen now, which I know the YouTube viewers won't necessarily be able to see, but I'm sure we can toss a link in the description to what Matt and I are looking at here, for you to kind of scroll through while you're watching this video. I just love the amount of like alt art or trainer gallery, whatever we're calling them, cards. There are so many in this set, and I think just the artwork in general is all except every single one of these except for a couple are really sick. So from a collector standpoint, like, you have a decent chance of pulling one of these just because there's so many of them, and they look really cool. The only thing I will say I don't like about it, and I think Matt can probably share the same sentiment, is if you are a fan of this set for whatever reason, you better stock up and buy now while the prices are still while the prices are still $3.99 or $4.99 or $4.29 a booster pack. It kind of varies wherever you go,
or at least like the elite trainer boxes, or
the elite trainer boxes
in stock.
If booster box,
just
1,000
fly through that stuff,
and if you can get a booster box for 120, if you can get a booster box for 120, 130, do it now, because this is one of those sets that has so many cool cards in it that people want, that this will still be a popular set. Matt and I were talking just beforehand, the Shining Fates effect, where it's like, if you wanted that set now and it came out 2 years ago, maybe even more, if you do find it, it's insanely expensive. Or you just can't find it in general. This is going to be one of those sets because it has so many all-art trainer gallery cards that people just want, whether it's probably just for a collector standpoint, like this Palkia V-Star, Dialga V-Star, these like gold rares, hyper secret rares, whatever they're called. Like,
those crazy gold-looking cards.
People just want that because they're worth a lot of money and they look sick. Just like for the same reason I want that Mewtwo V-Star. That card's worth $90.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if you find it in a store now, I encourage you to buy it while it's still a normal price, because this is going to be one of those sets where in 2 years it'll still be popular, and a booster box will go from $120 to $350. It's insane. That's the only thing I don't like. Because
the Shining Fates I think I bought for $100 for you. I can't remember. Was the super rare like shiny Charizard in that set? Was that part of the reason?
Yep. And honestly,
and the same thing here. You have Radiant Charizard, which is a shiny Charizard essentially. But it is a reprint. I think in Shining Fates it was not a reprint. It was just like, hey, we added, shiny Charizard.
I would not like this set.
Whereas in this one, it's a reprint off Radiant Charizard, and Radiant Charizard was like $100 at one point, I'm pretty sure. So I'm looking forward to that coming down, because Radiant Charizard isn't crazy, but it's useful. And I don't want to spend $100 on a Radiant Charizard.
I don't think anyone would really want to. I would not like this set really at all, because as a collector, I'm not really the biggest fan of reprints, for the purpose of like what Matt was saying before. For people who like to play the game, having the individual cards be cheaper on TCG Player and whatnot is a really good thing. But from a collector standpoint, like, I want cards that are valuable and worth money. And so if they print this Mewtwo VMAX and it brings the prices of all these other Mewtwo Vs from previous expansions down, that might mean I might have a Mewtwo in my binder that was worth $20 and now it's worth $12. So
I didn't think about that. That actually probably hurts you.
Yeah, from a collector standpoint.
The Radiant Charizard, and you were hanging on to it. You're like, oh man, this is worth so much, and then they reprinted it.
It might be worth $60 instead of $100, which is still $60. But like, that's what I don't like about it. So anything that benefits, now this is on a macro level. I'm not getting too specific, but anything that benefits the people who like to play the game, TCG, that like to compete and go to tournaments and play. And the folks, if there's something that benefits the players, it's going to hurt the collectors. And if it's going to benefit the collectors, it's probably going to hurt the players, because there's two very different sets, and I think Pokemon and
Radiant
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Charizard's currently under $20 right now.
Yes, and I think they do that intentionally because Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! All these companies know that with certain sets, they can at least appeal to one or the other. Maybe this set might appeal more to collectors than players, but then eventually they'll come out with a set that will appeal more to players, and that way they're always making money, which is smart from a business standpoint, but can be frustrating.
Yeah, I actually didn't, because again, I'm always thinking like, oh, the price drop, cool, I can get this card for cheaper now. Because I think Radiant Charizard was $100, and now that version of that Charizard's 17. I think I saw.
Yeah,
and so for me, I'm like, oh, if I want to snag a Radiant Charizard, it's gonna be super easy now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't think about people maybe hanging on to that card, hoping it increases in value, but now it just got printed again.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing with this Rayquaza VMAX. I remember when this came out a while ago in one of the previous, earlier sets. I'm pretty sure it came out in one of the first 3 or 4 sets of Sword and Shield expansions, I should say. It was a popular card, and it was probably worth $30, $40. Now they just reprinted it, and you could probably get it for less than $10 in a few weeks when people pull it.
I think it's at a couple. And then on top of that, with that card in particular, it's not really competitive anymore.
No.
Like when it first came out, everyone was like, oh my gosh, this card's broken.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like Lugia where like everybody's playing Lugia. Like some people were just happy to be playing Rayquaza. But now like nobody plays Rayquaza V.
Yeah.
I rarely see it.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help either.
What going back to kind of what your thoughts are from either a player perspective or just your own personal perspective in general, how do you think this final expansion compares to other final expansions in previous sets, if you know what I mean? Like before Sword and Shield, what was it? It was still Sun and Moon, right?
Like the final installment.
The final installment, yeah.
That's a tough one. I didn't love Crown Zenith when it first came out. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not side set kind of person. And I thought the last couple were pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, whatever. But I would say the artworks, I didn't see all these alt art trainer gallery cards. They're all gorgeous. Like, I don't know what they did to be like, let's step our game up.
Yeah.
If they're paying the artists more or whatnot, I don't know. But the artworks are gorgeous. So from that perspective, I think it's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how Sun and Moon, was it Sun and Moon? Yeah, Sun and Moon would have been like the last run before this.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think Unified Minds was the last one.
No, it wasn't. Unified Minds was probably right in the middle. I think we hopped in right in the middle of the set of all the expansions.
So,
it wasn't.
So I don't even remember the ending set right now off the top of my head.
Yeah, I definitely put Matt on the spot there. Sometimes we talk about questions we're going to ask each other so that we can be prepared, and that was not one where I allowed Matt to prepare.
But I feel like just the artwork alone makes this a standout set, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes with the last set, they try to power creep or something.
Yeah.
I
1,000% agree.
I mean, those tag team cards were ridiculous, dude.
Dude,
Like,
my favorite card.
Those Tag Team GX were ridiculous.
Since Matt and I have started getting back into Pokemon, I can't speak to what sets came out really, 2013, 14, 15. That was an era where at least I wasn't. Matt might have been a little bit more than me, but I don't. I would have to go back and look at a lot of cards to see what my favorite card of all time is, at least in terms of all the aspects that come with cards. But since Matt and I have gotten back into this since 2019, 2020, fall 2019, I think. My favorite card is that Unified Mindset. That Mewtwo Tag Team GX. Oh, my favorite type is Psychic. The artwork was sick. The competitive viability and just ability and GX move that it had were just insanely broken at the time.
Broken cards.
And the way you
still are.
That was the most fun I've ever had building a set, because you could literally take any Pokemon V and have it either on your bench or your discard pile, and as long as you met the energy requirements, you could use that move. So your options were like, well, hell, I'm just going to go through all the Pokemon Vs in this set that I can meet energy requirements for and use any one of them as long as it's in my discard pile. It was just so much fun being able to pull that set together. So that's the most fun I've ever had building a deck. But from an aesthetic standpoint, I agree. I think this set, the amount of trainer gallery and all arts, I mean, if Pokemon is capable of coming up with this level of artwork, this is just what their regular cards should look like. Like, I think they should move their regular Pokemon artwork to these full card type designs.
I know we're talking about Crown Zenith, but looking ahead a little bit, have you seen Scarlet and Violet at all? I know I'm like putting you on the spot on that.
Only a little bit. It's been. I think the last time I saw something, it was like they were like more speculations of this like leaked artwork and stuff. It wasn't, but that is.
I've seen
not
like
even accurate.
Japanese openings.
Yeah.
So I've seen like Japanese openings of it, and the artwork they have like all art. I think it's called art rares now. They're like called art rares or something like that.
Because they got rid of
and
rainbow
they're
rares,
gorgeous.
right?
Yeah, they got rid of rainbow.
Yeah, which I never really liked.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, it seems like they are stepping in the direction of making these cards like really pretty.
Yeah.
And they have the silver, because you know how the Japanese cards have like the silver border.
Yeah. Yep.
Like their border's different.
Yep.
I think we're getting that too now.
Cool. I know the Japanese cards are a lot thinner too. They're much easier. They're easier to bend.
I don't know about that, but
we're gonna find out. Yeah.
I think we're getting the silver border, but just the art rares are just, they look like these cards.
Yeah.
In terms of the trainer galleries.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like, it's so cool. I think I heard somebody say one time like that Pokemon has the prettiest card game, like in terms of art.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And off this set, I think that's true.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think the one thing that I hope Pokemon does is they've had kind of the same gameplay format for a while in terms of the way the cards look, right? You have your box with your artwork in it, and then underneath you have one or two moves ability. I don't imagine too much of that changing, but like the one thing, and I think Yu-Gi-Oh's gotten way out of hand. You know how I feel about Yu-Gi-Oh, but the one thing I give Yu-Gi-Oh credit for is they have found really good and really terrible ways to make changes to the way the game is played. Like I remember when Matt and I would play Yu-Gi-Oh, and the game used to be so much simpler. Now, like Matt would play a pendulum deck, and I would have literally no clue what's going on. Like he could be straight up cheating right in front of my face, and I would have no idea because it got way too out of hand. But at least I give Yu-Gi-Oh credit for like
they tried.
They try to come up with different ways to play the game, and without like Professor's Research has been a card for years, and the only thing they change about it is the artwork. The card doesn't change. The mechanic of the card doesn't change. But I hope that Pokemon finds some creative ways where it still feels like Pokemon, but the game mechanic and artwork all the way around, there's just different options. And I know they make small changes, like this Lost Zone thing is relatively new, but I don't know. I hope that they take this,
or they go from EX and but EX is still like a V, but like just slightly different. So.
And and they've done the EX before. Like the EX was something that was like a 2011, 12, 13 phase where they were in the EX phase, and so they're really just phasing EXs back in. Yeah, EX, GX, V Star, now back to EX. It's not like it's anything like crazy new.
Yeah, that's true. I know they're retconning. Or retcon's maybe the wrong word for that. I have a different word. But anyway, they're changing Pokemon tools to be different than item cards now.
And that's cool. Like, they need to...
Yeah, it's interesting.
Even if it doesn't work out and people complain about it and it just kind of sucks, at least... I just give people credit for trying something new and trying something different. Like I said, I think Yu-Gi-Oh went too far. It just got out of hand. So maybe somewhere in between where Pokemon is now and where Yu-Gi-Oh is, somewhere in between those two would be great. Where it still feels like Pokemon and it's not completely gotten out of hand, but
yeah, I think Magic does a decent job with it.
Yeah. Which is why I think a lot of people think Magic.
But what's nice about Pokemon, and I think Yu-Gi-Oh's problem, and what's nice about Pokemon is stuff rotates out.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
So eventually we're gonna lose all the cards that are just annoying. Yeah. And Magic the Gathering does the same thing. You lose all the cards that are annoying, at least in Standard.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. Now we're past that phase.
Yeah.
We can move on with what we got now.
Yeah. I
know, like, Terrastal, speaking of mechanics, I know, like, the Terrastalized Pokemon, you can get those, like, Terrastalized EX.
Yeah.
They have an ability, their ability as a Terrastalized Pokemon is, like, they can't be damaged while on the bench or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's interesting. Not, like, crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't,
it's, like, something, I guess.
Doesn't really work for anything, or for everything, for every deck. But, like, if you build a deck, it really kind of depends. And we've talked about this when we do our pack battles, but... Like, the first thing you should do when you build a deck, regardless of what set it is like, what is your win condition? Or, like, what do you want to... What mechanic do you want to build the deck around? It might be... You might build a deck around the ability of this Mew that I'm looking at, this all-art Mew, where it has Mysterious Tail. I haven't even read it, but you might build...
Oh, yeah.
Like, you might build a deck around
that
ability, because you can have 4 of those in the deck. You can put one of them on your bench and still use it. Like, you could build your deck around that. So, How good is it? Well, you're gonna have to find out playing folks, but you can really build your deck around anything, which is why honestly when I look at a new expansion, I always go to psychic and dark types because those are my 2 favorite typings, and I want to know do they have anything dope in those 2 typings. Luckily, I don't like grass because they never make grass anything cool at all ever. It's like never competitively viable.
I know.
But I look
they
at
do the same thing to fire though too.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I mean they luck out.
I have not
Charizard
seen a fire deck
type.
do well.
Yeah, I mean.
I've seen a fire deck do well in a hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, luckily fire type works out because they have Charizard. You know, Charizard gets printed way too much.
Yeah, but Charizard gets like thrown into other decks. Like Charizard has a V and V star that are also in this set. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I haven't seen, as for all the games I've played online, I have not seen Charizard pop up, except Radiant Charizard as he's like a final attacker.
Yeah.
So both grass and fire, I do not see much representation from.
Yeah. Luckily for me, I think psychic and dark types get more than even like fighting types typically don't have a ton either.
Yeah.
So I will go to dark type and psychic and immediately be like, what lives in those sets? And to be honest with you, I look more at single prize cards at first than I do like any of the crazy artworks. I just want to know like what abilities do they have, and do any of these abilities, is it something new? Like, is it something where you're like, whoa, Pokemon, that's kind of new. That might end up being broken.
Yeah.
Just really curious on what that is. Because I don't think single prize cards.
So what would you give this set? What was that?
I was just gonna say I think single prize card abilities are kind of underutilized. Like again, you could take this Mew that has like 60 HP and just use it for its ability, but people kind of overlook those things sometimes.
Lunatone and Soul Rock are in this deck.
Yeah, and they're gangsters.
It's a pretty killer deck. Single prize, and a lot of decks use Mew actually as like a searcher.
Yeah,
which isn't bad.
Yeah, I would say. So if I had to rate this out of 10, but getting back into the Crown Zenith specific talk.
Yeah.
If it weren't for all of the what feels like millions of all art trainer gallery cards that are kind of at the end, I would think this set would be like a 2 or 3 out of 10 in terms of excitement, because there were a bunch of reprints.
Oh, okay.
But with all of these like insane amount, I mean, there's got to be 40 cards that are like these trainer gallery types where the artwork is just insane. Because of those cards, from a collector standpoint or just like a pretty binder standpoint, I would have to say this is probably an 8 or 9 out of 10, just because there are so many of them. And if you pull any of these, but I'm only talking from a collector standpoint. From an actual gameplay standpoint, it might be a 0. It might not really be all that great.
I wouldn't give it a 0.
But I'm looking at this Arceus V-Star, which it's the last card in the set, so it's probably the hardest to pull. That's typically how that works. But imagine pulling this card, I would like pee myself. It is just Arceus, full art, hovering over a volcano type thing in this rock cave, looking like gangster as all get out. And so like from a collector standpoint, there's a ton of these trainer gallery cards that are just would be insane to pull. And because there are so many of them, that means you have a decent chance to pull any of them at any time. In the past, it would be like they would have like maybe 3 to 5 different kind of like cool trainer gallery types. But now there's just so many that like even pulling one like this, like this Keldeo, just the artwork is really cool. The card, as I'm reading it right now, the card really sucks. It's completely useless. But the artwork is like insane. So for that reason, I would say like an 8 or 9 from a collector standpoint, because so many of these cards would look great in my binder. What do you think
I'd go
from
6 or 7?
You go 6 or 7 from what standpoint? More of like a playability standpoint?
I go 6 or... Well, yeah, I mean, it's... I guess I'm just going off my just general excitement.
Yeah.
For the set.
Yep.
I think... So I'm going off my excitement for it, like how hyped I was for it, and also like, how useful it is. I mean, there's some good cards in here.
Yeah.
I don't love the set.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the worst thing to ever exist either. So I go like 6.5.
Yep.
Like... Yeah, you're going to get some solid cards, but nothing is going to... It doesn't change, especially since this is the last set and we're kind of phasing out of this a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't really change a lot of perspective for me.
I understand.
But also, it's a good set, and I enjoy the cards. So.
Like this Luminion V, this Luminion V is sick. There's a lantern in this, like Chin Chow or whatever, and a lantern in this. Like it just looks insane.
It looks nice.
Yeah, like from aesthetic, it just looks insane. And this Raikou of literally Raikou dead sprint with lightning bolts around it, like looking like it's like breaking like the speed of light over here. Like it's just like card is insane. Like there's so many cards that I would love to have just because they look so cool. But again, if it weren't for all of these and it was mostly reprints, I would have a level of excitement of about 2 because we've seen these cards. Like there's nothing really new here to be excited about. But just some of my thoughts.
That's our thoughts on Crown Zenith.
For sure.
Hopefully y'all enjoyed this podcast style almost.
Almost, yeah.
Of video.
If you want to see,
it was kind of like a podcast.
Yeah. If you want to see Matt and I do more of these, we're thinking about kind of doing them every time a set comes out and talking about it.
We can talk about it more. We can talk about more problems in Pokemon if you want that too.
It'll inevitably go to that because you and I can talk forever. But the base set for Violet and Scarlet comes out soon, and base set is an important set because it lays the foundation and groundwork, especially from like a supporter card, trainer card type vibe. If you've seen our pack battles, one of Matt's strategies you'll see is opening up base set just to get those really important trainer supporter cards that really kind of only pop up in those base sets. I'm
sure we'll have a lot to talk about on that one.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
But make sure y'all join the Grandma Squad because a good percentage of our viewers are grandmas.
Yeah, we don't know why.
Be a grandma too.
But shout out to all the Meemaws. If you're watching this video, all
the nanas.
If you're watching this video and you're not a grandmother,
once you hit the subscribe button, you become a grandma.
Yeah, whoa, that'd be wild. Our YouTube channel has so much
time. Watch it happen.
But if you are not a grandma and you hated this video, that's fine. Be sure to tell us why in the comment section. But pass it along to your grandma because chances are she's going to like it because YouTube analytics don't lie and the Meemaws are hopping on the Rogue Bob train. So
grandmas love us.
Yeah. So
well, thank you, Eric, for talking with me.
Yeah.
Thank you all for viewing, and we'll catch you in the next video.
We'll catch y'all next time. See ya.